is called By His Own Hand Upon Papyrus, and I called it that because that is a direct quote from the preface to the Book of Abraham that was composed by Joseph Smith when the book was first began to be serialized in Times and Seasons in Nauvoo. Okay, the exact wording of it is something like a account from the catacombs of Egypt that have fallen into our hands, the Book of Abraham written by his own hand upon papyrus, and so forth. This is what Joseph Smith represented it as being. Abraham's diary, his own hand. People that visited his home, there's an account of one person saying, you know, you see that there? That's Abraham's signature. That's his autograph, sort of thing. He could say anything he wanted to about these. No one could prove him wrong because no one in his sphere knew that Egyptian had even been translated. After Joseph Smith died, and the Mormons came out to Utah, the Book of Abraham was republished. Okay, this time in England under the title Pearl of Great Price. Okay, and this is 1851. A Frenchman, I can't recall his name right offhand, but a scholar at the Louvre took a copy of this and he began examining it, and he says, well, now these drawings, these woodcuts, are just funerary scenes, and he could even decipher enough of the hieroglyphs that were included with some of the pictures to be able to tell what they were and read a small portion of it that hadn't been mistranslated that badly. That early then, Egyptologists began exposing the Book of Abraham fraud. But of course, they didn't have the real papyrus to work from. That had been lost when Joseph Smith was killed in 1844. So all through the 1850s, the 1860s, the 1870s, then on again in 1912 when Reverend Spalding came out with his things, and then the New York newspapers came out with their expose and so forth. The Mormon response was always that the people of the world can say anything that they want to about these. They haven't got the real things, so they're just whistling in the dark. Well, the real things were found in 1966 and made available in 1967, and it didn't take long after that before everybody could know exactly what Joseph Smith's fraud was.
Is there anything in the Book of Mormon that's important to Mormonism? Or in the Book of Abraham? Is there any doctrine there that's critical to Mormon thinking?
Yeah. You get your whole introduction into the celestial spheres, Kolob, and so forth. Many things that are relevant in the temple. The Book of Abraham drops off in the middle. Okay, it was never a completed work, and many people, many good historians feel that if Joseph Smith had continued with it, he would use it to go and continue introducing more and more of the doctrines that he was beginning to make, to introduce into the church. And one that comes to mind immediately would be the idea of polygamy, especially if he'd gotten onto the scroll of Joseph. So, you know, he was constantly using whatever he could to introduce new scriptures and validity for ideas that he had already come up with. His whole inspired version of the Bible was the idea to try to go ahead and come up with a scriptural basis for pre-existence, and to also straighten out some of those other thorny things that the Bible says that Joseph Smith didn't particularly care for. Okay, now he didn't have access to original texts or codices. He didn't have the Sinaiticus, the Vaticanus, the Alexandrius, the Chester Beatty Papyri, or any of the other thousands of tools that we have today to be able to go and explore and know exactly how complex and technical the Greek language was and how precise it was in describing exactly what it says. To him, it was all impression. And so if he decided something had to mean something to be comfortable, then he would use that. I love the scholarship that's able to be done with biblical writings today, whether they're from the Greek or even the ones in the Aramaic and the Hebrew. there's so much more that can be learned today by looking at that. Hebrew, by the way, is a very ambiguous language. It has a lot of tones and shades to it. But Greek is crystal, rock-hard precise. And when Paul wrote that men are saved by grace and by faith and not of works, lest any man should boast, that is exactly what he meant. Okay, he didn't mean anything different.
Awesome.
Oh, anybody getting tired yet?
Do you have a card except this?
A what?
Do you have a card except the
No, no, I sure don't. I'll give you my email if you like, or if you want to contact the publisher on this book. His is in the front of it, and so you probably want to do that.
So I can take
Yeah.
So I can take that and copy?
Yes. I know that Sandra carries it, Sandra Tanner.
Sandra Tanner is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Sandra Tanner is you will love meeting Sandra Tanner. Okay, she's a wonderful lady. She lives just west of the ball field there on 13th South, and about
West Temple.
Yeah, West Temple. Yeah.
Right
13th
across the street
Southwest
from the
Temple.
ball field.
Right across the street from the ball field. And she has a wonderful bookstore. You'll fall in love with her. She's a very dear lady.
She knows
Tell her
everything.
Chuck sent you.
So she wrote the book that was Mormonism Shadow Reality that he read in 6 days.
She and her
With her
husband have
husband,
been
Gerald.
doing this since 1960.
Ask everybody you know to give you a copy.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can go on that website or wherever they send
It's
it to.
utlm.org.
UTLM, and then I've been there. Okay. Keep that into that. But I
I
want
do.
to get all my family's address and just put it in there and
Do.
just secretly send it all.
Do.
Well, that website for the book is IRR.org.
Yes.
That's the
very easy.
Institute for Religious Research.
Yes.
IRR.
Yeah, /MIT.
Okay.
So, Chuck, let me ask you, what do you say to these goofballs off the street that just want to say, oh, scholars, what do they know?
That's why they're scholars.
Well,
We have the truth straight from God. We got the burning in the bosom. That's all we need.
I can't say that I've ever really responded to or tried to respond to someone with that level of intelligence before. So I would be at a loss for words.
All right.
All right.
Sincerity is everything, guys. If a person is sincere, they will want to talk. If all they want to do is show what they know and what they believe and try to prove to themselves how valiant they are, sow your seeds elsewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Ask them how their children are.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Can I take a minute and tell them about my other book?
I was just going to ask you.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Go ahead.
Would you give us a synopsis of Destroying
All
Religion?
right. Let's see. By his own hand upon Papyrus. A little later on, I wrote Numismatic Forgery, which is an illustrated, annotated guide to the private manufacture of rare coins. It's become a classic text and a bestseller. But the one I'm proudest of is this one. It's called Destroying Angel. It's a novel. Okay, and this just came out a couple of years ago, and it's having trouble picking up traction. For some reason, bookstores around here don't want to carry it, and it isn't really known. I'm not really known as a novel writer, but this is a crime, mystery, thriller, action book set in Utah with historic overtones back to the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Okay, and there's also a great deal of contemporary polygamy in it, a lot of snapshots of Utah culture and Mormon culture within it. Briefly, the book begins with a home intrusion down in Cedar City, where an entire family is drugged in their sleep, taken into the garage, and hanged. And then on the wall, next to them is written a rather cryptic phrase. It says, "For and on the behalf of Dudley Levitt, who is dead." Well, this creates a buzz immediately because the name Levitt is well known in Utah, and the feeling is that since Levitt was the governor in Utah, that someone was trying to intimidate the former governor of Utah. And who would want to do that except for the fundamentalists, because he started the crackdown that is currently underway on them. So this gets us into looking into the fundamentalists, and it becomes an act of domestic terrorism, so they get Homeland Security in there. I have my guy from Homeland Security, who's a Gentile from the Midwest, come out here, never been in Utah before, team up with the Jack Mormon with the Attorney General's office in order to go and investigate the fundamentalists and try to find out what's going on. Then there's another killing. Again, an entire family taken into, hanged in their home. This time the sign on the wall is, for and on the behalf of somebody else who is dead. Okay, I think it was William Dame. Okay, then later on there's another whole family, this time way up in Logan, for and on the behalf of Isaac Haight, who is dead. And then somebody realizes that all of these names that are being named there are old Mormon pioneers that were polygamists, but they had one other thing in common too. They had all been participants at the Mountain Meadows Massacre, and every one of these families that was being killed was descended from that pioneer. So someone, it appears, was tracking down these families and then performing vicarious executions in order to satisfy justice. So instead of vicarious baptism or vicarious marriage, you have vicarious execution, since the original perpetrator escaped punishment. Oh, wow. It's technically not because blood atonement requires the shedding of blood. These people are being hanged on behalf of his ancestors. So one of the twists there is that whoever's doing this doesn't want to help that person by satisfying justice. He wants to cut them off from any chance of salvation, since no blood can ever be shed to atone for his sin. Yeah, gets real deep into Mormon doctrine that way, but it does so in such a way that a total non-member, non-Mormon, know nothing about Mormon could read that book, learn a heck of a lot about it, and get through it and enjoy it. It's written very, very fast, good action. It's it's been compared to Dan Brown or Grisham. In fact, one person said that this is like the Mormon version of the Da Vinci Code.
Sold. I'll buy that one.
How about a Study in Scarlet?
Study in Scarlet was a very early work by what's his face, Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. Yeah. And I should know that. Thank you. It's not that great a book, really. I like Under the Baskervilles a lot better, but it was considered very anti-Mormon at the time. In fact, most people in Utah boycotted Arthur Conan Doyle when he finally came here to appear and to speak. I belong to a club up in Salt Lake, the Alta Club, where we meet once a month and have dinner in the room where he spoke when he appeared here. It's a very nice club. The group that I'm with there, it's a Utah, it's a historical club made up of other historians and writers and artists and so forth that are in the area. In fact, I discuss this club in my book. That's where the researchers go for information. I can't recommend it highly enough. Okay, I think that you would enjoy it. It's a little gory. Okay, but it has a bad word or two in it, and it doesn't try to proselytize. This is no Brigham Smith, if you're familiar with that old work. Okay, this is not like that. I don't try to use this book to prove Mormonism wrong. I don't try to use this book to prove Christianity right. I try to simply provide a view through a window upon a culture that most people don't know anything about. Not only Utah culture, but also contemporary polygamous culture.